Welcome everyone to the second lecture on the chapter 9 of Bhagavad Gita. So let's start with the prayers. Om. 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 Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavatam Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Kratitam Purana Muninam Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitam Rudavarshinim Bhagatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatvam Bhagavad Gita Bhavatveshini Namostute Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Pulla Ravindayata Patra Netra Yena Tvaya Bharata Taila Purnaha Prajwalito Jnanamaya Pradipaha Prapanna Parijataya Totra Vetraika Parnaye Jnanamudraya Krishnaya Geetam Dutatuhe Namaha Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Sarvadharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tva Sarva Papebhyaha Mokshayishyami ma shuchaha. So welcome everyone for this second lecture on chapter 9. As we have talked about, Gita is really one of the most influential treatises in our Eastern philosophy. And this eternal wisdom of Bhagavad Gita from this ancient India, which means the song and the word. The Gita actually means the song and the word. It is often called as the song of the god. And this chapter 9 forms the second part of the three parts of Tattvamasi, and focusing more on Tat, or that infinite of which we are all part of. It focuses on that. In some sense, this is also a continuation of chapter 7, where chapter 7 started to talk about what is Jnanam and what is Vijnanam. Jnanam meaning knowledge, and Vijnanam means the wisdom that is attained by understanding of the knowledge and following it. So this is actually a very nice continuation. And in the 8th chapter, we had a little bit of a diversion, but it was necessary because Arjuna had asked this question on what happens when somebody dies. Does that person really attain moksha? So Krishna had taken that deviation to explain what happens. And then now we are back on chapter 9, which talks about Rajavidya Rajaguhyam. So this chapter has about 34 verses, and it is called as the Supreme Science or Supreme Secret. And we'll see very soon what does he really mean by it is a supreme science, Rajavidya, and what is really the secret that he is talking about. Like last time, we just to give you an idea here, the verses 1 to 3 is what we will focus on today, which is an expansion of what we already started last time. So in this, we have, before we get started on this one, just to give you an idea about what is the real secret here. what is really the Raja Vidya? What is Raja Guhyam? So we have an understanding today that we are a finite self here. We are a finite person really working in this world. And when I say finite, finite meaning we are limited. We are limited by this body, mind, and intellect through which we function in this world and through which we try to get the results of all our actions, whatever fruits of our action that we want to get. So we are in that world. But we don't realize that we are actually part of a much, much bigger picture, and we don't recognize the fact that I'm really not the one which is the mover and shaker of this world, but there is someone who's much, much beyond me, and that is the principle of Ishvara. So, Ishvara is really the ultimate cause of the universe, and everything is actually sustained in this universe. Everything is actually nothing but that Ishvara. That is something that we need to be aware of, we need to be cognizant of. And why? Why would we want to be do this, right? Because today we function in this world as if I'm this individual self, I'm this ego. And when I take ownership for everything, then I have to suffer the consequences too. But then the question always comes, well, I did everything the best I could, but yet why am I not able to get the full result of what I've done? So this is where this aspect of Ishvara is necessary for us, because we have to know how we are connected in this world. This entire world is nothing but a connection. We are connected, and every action that I do impacts not just me, but impacts everybody in the world. So Ishvara, the cause of the universe, is in and through everything, making things happen and making things not happen based upon each and everyone's individual effort. We are not able to see Ishvara though, because we expect that only when I see, hear, feel, touch, smell, only then those are real. But in reality, Ishvara is beyond all this. We are so conditioned by our own senses to only perceive these names and forms. But Ishvara is in and through everything. It's almost like we say it's the butter, which is there in the milk. When we convert the milk into yogurt and we churn it and we get the butter out of it, we wonder, how did this come about? It was always there. We could just never see it, right? So too, Ishvara is always there, but we are so preconditioned, and we are not conditioned to see that Ishvara. So these chapters from 7 to 9 really gives us this idea of how Ishvara is really the cause of the whole universe. And it is through that cause, through that power, this whole world of names and forms are created, and the whole names and forms are sustained, and they're also finally they dissolve in it. And this whole world, or Prakriti or Maya, is actually made of these three gunas, and it is a fully automated system. This, when I say automated, each and every one, we work together, and the way we work together, we get the results back for the actions. When I work with the spirit of yajna, that is dissolving this ego, then what happens is whatever results that come out of it is something which is conducive not just for me, but for everybody. But we don't realize this. We work today in a way that things are only for me. So we get stuck in the system, and we are unable to get out of it because we're so bound by all these actions which are me, me, me alone. We become too attached to that. So in this whole context, we see Ishvara as an observer of the system. And by me being part of the system of Ishvara, I can grow out of this selfishness of me, and I do not get bound to all the things, and I get into a state of being unattached. So, in order to free myself from this um, entanglement, I have to change this condition. I have to get rid of all these misconceptions. And one of the first misconceptions is that Ishvara is finite. The second is that I'm this body, mind, and intellect. And the third is that if I were to just go to the temple and worship Ishvara with the idea that it is only for me, then I'll never ever get that ultimate happiness or that ultimate moksha. So, all this is something which I wanted us to reflect on. And so, the question before us is always to recognize, what am I really, really working in this world for? Am I really working for just my own happiness? Which is, maybe getting a better car. We are in Detroit. Am I doing it for that purpose? Are we completely satisfied? If I'm not satisfied, what is it that is really irking me? What is it that is irritating me? What are the small irritations? And once I get over that, then I start to reflect upon what is that ultimate happiness? Why am I here? What is there in this world? And ultimately, that leads me to recognize this aspect of Ishvara everywhere. And from doing that upasana, mentally focusing on this aspect of Ishvara, I will get into that aspect of Nididhyasanam, Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam. So all this, the chapters from 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, they actually describe all these upasanas, which allows me to reflect upon that Ishvara. And with this vichar, with this reflection, I will be able to understand that aspect of Ishvara, leading to that Nirguna Ishvara, Nirguna, that is without any attributes. And that is the absolute liberation that we're talking about. So it is with this background, we are entering into this chapter 9, which is almost halfway through, leading us to this knowledge of the Nirguna Ishvara. And this is why he actually, Lord Krishna describes this as a secret. He introduces, he does a big, it's like, launching a big car. Again, because you're in Detroit, I'm saying this. It's like as if, when you are launching the first car out, how would you do that? What are the various adjectives you're going to use to describe this? And what are the best possible things that you can give to best possible adjectives? And that is why he calls this as a secret. And it is also very, very logical. And that is why we're calling this as a science. It is extremely logical. And so this whole thing is why the first three shlokas are focused on kind of an advertisement for that knowledge itself. So let's begin with the shloka 1, where you see how even with the first shloka, there's so much packed in. There is this aspect of the knowledge that is going to be described, this aspect of the student's qualification, and what is the connection between what Lord Krishna is saying to the entire chapter of Bhagavad Gita. All this is packed in chapter 1. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha idam tute guhyatamam pravakshyamyanusuyave jnanam vijnana sahitam yajnatva mokshase shubhat. So we see Krishna first addressing Arjuna as Anasuya. So idam tute guhyatamam pravakshyami anusuyave. So idam, this knowledge, indeed, tu, te, for you, guhyatamam. It's the greatest secret, the best secret, Arjuna, that you can ever hope. I am telling you this, Pravakshyami. I am telling you, oh, Anusuyave. No, oh, Arjuna, who is so blemishless, no, who does not find any fault in what I'm saying. So just that word alone, you can see how Krishna is showing about the absolute Shraddha, absolute faith that Arjuna is having in him. He has no questions. He's so faultless. He's just looking for everything good. He's in that state which is the lowest energy state, to so to speak, where he's absolutely ready for the knowledge. So jnanam vijnana sahitam. So not only is he going to explain what this knowledge is, but he's also going to show how this knowledge combined with the experience, yet jnatva, having known this, O Arjuna, you will attain the highest infinite happiness, which is that moksha. Moksha, and then which is free from all inauspiciousness. Ashubhat. Shubham means auspicious. Ashubham means inauspicious. So, again, showing this is a word to describe the world in which we are living in. And again, we have seen these words before, Dukhalayam, and later we'll come to another word also, which is describes the world that we're living, and free from the sorrows of life. Sorrows doesn't necessarily mean just the from our perception, what is not going well, what is bad, but even the good things which is happening to a life because of our attachment to it, that part also you will be completely free of. So he's assuring that, Arjuna, detachment is the absolute way to gain that happiness of moksha, and I'm going to show you that knowledge. So he starts off first by talking about it as guhyatamam. Guhya means secret, uttamam, which is the most superlative form of it. So when we talk about the secret itself, first we in Bhagavad Gita, the first 6 chapters, which talks about the karma kanda, which deals with the way to live. As human beings, we have been blessed with an intellect, and it is with this intellect that we can really recognize how to live in this world, um, uh, how to live in a very alert and intelligent way. And being intelligent way is following the rules of dharma, following the rules of the universe. Simple thing, again, living in Detroit, you know what it is to drive safely within the speed limits. If I drive anywhere beyond 70, for example, I'm actually I'm dealing with an adharmic way of driving, right? So what he's trying to show is that the very first secret is, well, if you follow the dharmic way of life, where every action is done in such a way, keeping the laws of the universe, the laws, and then also when I'm looking for a fruit of action, I recognize that whatever I do, I'm doing it not for the fruit of action, I'm focusing more on the process. That by itself is a first secret. How many people can really understand that also? So that is the first secret. The next one is guhyatara. Guhyatara means more secretive. Okay, we have secret, more secretive, and the most secret, of course, we'll come to it. So what is a more secret is, once I lead a dharmic life, I start to ask questions for myself. Okay, I'm happy, I'm fulfilled, but yet there is something which is lagging. What is it? So I come to the Vedas, the Upanishads. And so then the Vedas will then prescribe certain upasanas by which I, I can raise my consciousness above the paltry desires that I'm dealing with now. and I'm fulfilling a deeper urge. So this Upasana Kanda takes you there. And these Upasana Kandas, again, these chapters that we are dealing with now. So we see that Lord Krishna is talking about how to develop the devotion. The devotion to the Lord is this one. It helps us to lower our own ego and to surrender to a higher principle. So that is the state of the more secret stage. Having done this, it makes us now ready for the next secret, which is where Lord Krishna is just introducing that in this chapter. And this is the Jnana Kanda or the Upanishad part of it. So this is a higher secret which takes us beyond this realm of samsara. And it is completely fulfilling part of it. There is no other happiness which is better than this happiness. So, and it allows us also to kind of regain our oneness with that absolute from where we have come. So, this is the most secret knowledge that he's talking about. The next thing he wants to tell us that it is Vijnana Sahitam. It's combined with the practical, this Jnanam, which is the secret, it's actually combined with practical experience. It's not that he's just saying it and then say that, you're done with it. Just like in a chemistry lab, we learn about the laws and then we actually go to the lab and we test it out. So here, so this is the Vijnana means testing or the wisdom which is gained by practicing this knowledge. So earlier in chapter 7, he had talked about this knowledge, how, you know, the both Jnanam and Vijnanam, he had talked about it. And in the case of karmas or actions, the results take a definite time before they manifest. We know that. For example, I may do this work in the project, and I may not be there to see the completion of the results of the effort that I put in. Maybe for whatever reason, my boss got changed, I got moved to a different project, or I had to leave the company. So many things could happen where I start the work, but I've not completed. But doesn't matter. The Lord will give us a field in which this can be satisfied. So this is so all this in the Upasana section, you do the worship and you find that you're able to fulfill it. But this third type of knowledge that we're coming up here, which is this Khyataram, here we're talking about Brahma Jnana. And this kind of result is immediate. And this knowledge, once we understand it, without any trace of any doubt, it has a power to remove all of our any kind of ignorance. And what is that ignorance? It is the ignorance of the fact that we are part of that infinite. We are that infinite. That we are ignorant now, and we are only cognizant of the fact that I'm this individual self today. So this knowledge will help us get to that state of experiencing that infinite wisdom. So that's the distinctness which he's trying to bring about on the knowledge and that experience that is gained by experiencing that knowledge. So this is very different, and that is what is very special about this knowledge. And not only is it special in that sense, but it is also extremely subtle. It is not something that everyone can understand it. And that understanding can also happen only when we have a proper teacher. Because, if we think about it, we ourselves have so much amount of doubts. And with that, the kind of doubts, if I'm going to think about learning something more only by reading a book or by watching a YouTube, passive listening, how much is that going to take me forward? Because the doubts will still be there. To some extent, maybe the doubts can be cleared by reading more and more and reflecting upon it. But I also need a teacher who can actually help me clear my doubts. And this is where Krishna says, it's only a teacher can understand the subtlety of the questions and give this knowledge in a form which a student can understand. So it's a very, very subtle knowledge. It is not the knowledge of the material world that we go to the universities to study. It is something which is more kind of reflective. So all these things is why this is important. So then what is the result? We are all creatures of habit. We all like to look for a result of the knowledge itself. But here the result is something which is beyond the results that we hope to gain in the material world. It is that ultimate happiness that we are looking for. That happiness is beyond any kind of sorrows and any kind of even the pleasures that we get out of attachments. So it is that kind of knowledge which is the highest form. And it can be obtained only first if I want it. Not everyone really wants this knowledge, right? Many people would have heard it, but they would say that, you know what, I'll come back to it. I'll come back later. Question is, when is that later? We don't know. We don't know how much of life we have left in our body. So the minute I hear something about it, I need to develop a mumukshutvam, a yearning for this knowledge. And when that knowledge happens, that leads to the happiness and into that ultimate happiness, because every other form of happiness that I'm dealing with, I have to keep coming back into this world to finally get to a stage where I need the ultimate happiness. So this knowledge, and the more I study it, will lead me to that absolute happiness, and it can happen here, now itself, in this birth. So that is what he's trying to say. Now, in the second shloka, he now comes to a few more adjectives or a few more reasons why this knowledge is very, very important. And you'll see the kind of the salesmanship of Krishna coming out in this next shloka. He really tries to glorify this knowledge even more. So let's chant the shloka. Rajavidya Rajaguhyam Pavitramidamuttamam Pratyakshaavagamam Dharmyam Susukham Kartumavyayam Rajavidya Rajaguhyam Pavitramidamuttamam Pratyakshaavagamam Dharmyam Susukham Kartumavyayam. So you see, he starts in the very first words of the shloka. We're using a language, a kind of a marketing language that we are all quite familiar with. We go to Myers, and way up front, if you look at it, they do such a wonderful job. A lot of effort actually goes into, focusing on the products which are kept right in front of us as you walk in. They know very well that here this customer is coming here with, eager to buy. So how do I help this buyer? How do I help the buyer buy what he wants, as well as, of course, how I can make the profit out of it, right? So, for example, if he has those apples, as soon as you walk in the Myers, you see the apples, and right in front you have these apples which are called the royal apples or the gala apples. We don't focus on the word apple, we focus on the word royal or gala, right? So that is how here also he's calling this as a royal science, royal secret, Rajavidya, Rajaguhyam. And then he calls it Pavitram, Pavitram, which is very pure. I mean, this knowledge is a purifier. Every other knowledge which we are studying, which we go to the university, actually creates you greater and greater desires. I study economics, I learn about money, I learn about making more money. I learn about how big industries make money. I study chemistry. I try to, make a product. I'm trying to see how this product can, of course, help many, many people. But by focusing on many, many people, I'm making more and more money for the company. So everything is actually creating more desires. But this knowledge is different. This knowledge is a purifier. It actually purifies me from creating more desires for myself. So, and it is supreme, uttamam, and it is very easily obtained by into just by using my mind and intellect. It doesn't need any more effort than that, and it follows the dharmic principles. It is very sukham. Su itself means good. So sukham, very comfortable. So very easily, comfortably, it can be obtained, kartum, and it is avyayam. Vyaya means the bits. So avyaya means it is without any bits, which means it's a whole knowledge. It is imperishable. It doesn't break into bits. So it doesn't perish into fine bits, but it remains the same. You'll never ever lose it. So you see how powerful an advertisement this is, right? So since you're all in Detroit, I wanted to explain also this one beautiful example that Swami Chinmayananda mentions about selling a product. So way back when there were only two companies, even before Chrysler came on board, they used to be called the big three, right? I don't think there was any point when they were called the big two, that is Ford and GM. Okay. So even between Ford and GM, there was always the competition. The competition was, GM is big, GM comes with many products. But when you think about quality, it is always Ford first, right? That's how the recent taglines have been there. So coming up with the right taglines was always very important for all these car manufacturers. So we had GM, and especially the Chevy division, they were wanted to outsmart Ford. So they spent, they were just coming out with, a couple of cars, and they wanted to announce it to the world. So what did they do? They spent millions of dollars, creating big billboards, and they also planned a strategy. They, kind of sent their salespeople throughout the length and breadth of US in different parts. And just around midnight time, they decided that they're going to put this big billboards with the tagline, about Chevy, with a new tagline. Somehow Ford came to know about it. And they said, okay, we need to do something too. So what was the tagline that Chevy did? Well, Chevy put this line, said that, okay, we will take you to the destination. Okay, as if to show that if you buy a Ford car, that will just break down somewhere, in the middle. And but we will take you to the destination, showing that we have a much powerful engine, and we can actually take you to where you want to go. So you can just rest assured, you can be relaxed. Now Ford saw this, and Ford, was always maybe a little, quote unquote, not spending so much money on their advertisements. So they brought their advertisement team, and they said, look, how can we beat this? So they came up with a very smart thing too. They made their advertisement much, much smaller. They didn't spend the millions that, Chevy had already spent. Chevy had already earmarked all those places where they had their things. So Ford went to exactly the same places. They didn't spend any, millions of money scouting for different areas. They went exactly there. They also went to exactly where those billboards were posted. And they took a very smaller poster. And on the poster, they said, we will take you home. We'll bring you back home. As if to say that, well, Chevy will take the time and effort to take you to the destination, but what about coming home? The car will break down after that. So not only will we take you to the destination, but we'll also bring you home. So you see how, with just a few words, cleverly put, one can convey the best advertising message, right? So to here, you see Lord Krishna, in just a few words, he uses the word royal. And this brings back for me one instance where back in the 90s, when I had been to Chicago for an American Chemical Society conference, I was looking for Indian food. And I came across this advertisement for Royal Indian Grill. And you know how it is. When you hear the words royal, you automatically assume that, this restaurant is better than the others because it's royal, right? So, word royal really attracts. And so that's why he says Rajavidya, Rajaguhyam, and Pavitram Idam Muttamam. So it's a royal secret. Speaking of secrets, I don't know how many of you read this book, The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. Um, just the title by itself, it is no doubt a good book. There's a very quite a few terms that she really talks about this aspect of gratitude and acceptance. Simple things, but you can see that even the word of gratitude and acceptance is considered as a secret. So she brings this as a kind of universal paradigm for success and how this can be achieved and how this has remained hidden from most people. So Guhyam, is hidden. It's really hidden. And this book actually sold like, I don't know, something like 26 million copies, about 19 million copies. And they even made a movie out of this. Now, she probably got the idea from Bhagavad Gita of calling this as a secret from chapter 9, right? So here he talks about how this is really a royal secret. Possibly it's, maybe in those days, the kings were also educated in this because in order to govern the people, one has to, have the ability to look beyond the people itself and look for what is good for everyone. So, in that sense, also, it helps them to become more disciplined, more self controlled, and also gives them a universal vision. It really helps by going beyond our own individual self, beyond what a king might be looking for themselves. So, in that sense, also, maybe it is called Raja. Raja meaning king, and that is that could be the reason. So this knowledge is the king of all secrets. Simple ordinary secrets can give us happiness in achieving small things. Sometimes secrets can be help us from understanding the competition, so many different things, but they're all very, very temporary and they're very limited in scope. But this secret is unlimited scope. It is, and it's available for everyone, whoever wants to seek it. And it will lead to the biggest happiness that one can ever get, the happiness that is everlasting. It is beyond any good, bad, ugly. It is beyond pleasures and sorrows. It is the absolute best secret. And it is a purifier. It purifies everyone. It really helps one to get rid of petty desires. So it is very superior in that sense. Typically, when we talk about pavitram or a purifier, we talk about some rituals which we want to do as prayachittam in order to get rid of any kind of mistakes or sins. But here we are talking about something which is even beyond papam, but beyond even punyam, because punyam is the result. punyam is the fruit sometimes we get out of doing good deeds. But then this punyam or credits that we get, this bank of credits, we want to use that for something higher, right? It's like, you win a lottery and you have to use the money somehow. So here too, punyam also, we want to use it for doing something, for fulfilling maybe a different kind of desire. But this knowledge is beyond punyam, it is beyond papam. And so it helps us to completely negate all our any kind of mistakes, any kind of sins that we would have done. And it is an absolute, the highest knowledge. There cannot be any other knowledge beyond this. And it is a knowledge which helps us to never ever come back into the world. Another very important thing he says here is it's a knowledge which doesn't need any effort. It can be perceived directly. Once I understand, and that is where the difficulty is, right? In order to understand this, it's a catch-22 situation. In order to understand this knowledge, I have to do a lot of effort to get the chitta shuddhi, to purify my mind, and to focus on the knowledge itself. For that, I need to put the effort. But once I do that, and I have a good understanding, this knowledge happens immediately, directly. So it is that simple. So that is why he's saying it is perceived directly. Pratyaksha. Pratyaksha means just by pure understanding, by directly seeing the knowledge. Actually, that's what it means. Pratyaksha means directly seeing, but seeing not from by the eyes, but by the mind. And then here it is dharma compliant. What do we mean by dharma compliant? Is all I need to do is keep doing what I'm doing in the best possible way, in a way that it is helpful for the whole humanity, not just for myself. When I follow those rules of dharma, this can happen right away. On the other hand, if I take any shortcuts, then it ain't going to work. So, as they say, anything that I do for a song will not stay for long, right? So, all worthy results, all good things, all things which are meant for the long term takes time and effort, but that effort is more on purification, right? So, it's like, if I have to make a payasam in a vessel, I have to make sure that the vessel is clean. My effort is only to make sure that that vessel has no dirt, nothing. And then when I make the payasam, everything will be good. But if I don't clean the vessel, and I can put a lot of effort in making the payasam, but the payasam will not be good. So, idea is if I spend all the efforts in cleaning my mind, getting the chitta shuddhi and ekagrata, and following the laws of dharma, the universe, this knowledge can be very easy. So it is that easy. Sukham. So it brings a lot of joy, sukham, and it is very, very easy. It's very, very easy to assimilate. Doesn't need, we have talked about this so much. The minute we say the word knowledge, of course, we all immediately think that, oh my God, this knowledge is very difficult and everything. But actually, the knowledge is very, very simple. It is just that we need to have the right patra. Patra. Patra means vessel. And in here, the patra refers to the mind. And it is permanent. It cannot be destroyed. Avyaya. So once you get this knowledge, it just stays with you. You can never, ever lose it. Because this knowledge has been obtained with a lot of understanding. That is very important. Because I've spent the time on understanding it, this knowledge will never, ever get away from me. Now the question may come is, you're saying that this knowledge will happen only if I put a lot of effort in cleaning myself. Now, I'm okay. I'm perfectly okay where I am. And I really don't have the time to sit and listen and, grasp this knowledge. So, so what is the consequence? What if I really don't want to know it? What will happen? So now we see Krishna coming with explaining one most important characteristic which is needed in order for this knowledge to stick. So in the first two verses, he sold us the knowledge, sold us why we have to do it and everything. But in this shloka, he's going to give us one most important qualification. And he's also going to say that if you don't have this qualification, then you'll never ever get it. So that one qualification is like the most key qualification, which he's going to talk about. Ashraddhadhanaः purushaः अश्रद्धधानाः पुरुषाः धर्मस्यास्य परन्तप धर्मस्यास्य परन्तप अप्राप्य मां निवर्तन्ते अप्राप्य मां निवर्तन्ते मृत्युसंसारवर्त्मनि मृत्युसंसारवर्त्मनि. So you see, in the very first line, he talks about what is that key qualification. And that is, the qualification is Shraddha. So Shraddha, which he says here as if you don't have Shraddha, Ashraddha, Ashraddhadhana Purushaha, those Purushas, those people, okay, who have no Shraddha. So Shraddha meaning faith. Okay, faith. And we will definitely talk about what is faith, what is blind faith. Here we're talking about that absolute faith. So those people who do not have that faith, and dharmasya asya parantapa, people without any faith in this path of dharma. Okay, having explained what that path was before, which is a dharmic path, he's addressing Arjuna as Parantapa or scorcher of foes. Okay, Tapa meaning scorcher, of Parantapa, of enemies. Aprapya mam nivartante. So you may do everything in this path of dharma, but if you don't have the faith, he's telling Arjuna, you'll never attain me. Without attaining me, you come back. Where do you come back? You come back to the same old kitchad. Kitchad meaning that same swamp or that same, filth, if you will. He's saying you return back. Aprapya mam nivartante, you return back. Mrityu samsara vardmani. So this world, which is this world of life and death, which keeps going back. Mrityu meaning death. Samsara, so he's referring to the samsara, which is filled with death, but death meaning that people are being born, people are dying, they live, die, etc. They just come, between life and death. All they do is work, sleep, enjoy, again work, sleep, enjoy. Just this part of it going all the time. In that kind of a world, you just come back. So this discussion on Shraddha, so it's very important. Faith, without faith, you cannot really get it. So we will actually discuss more about this faith in the next class, in the next session. And we'll also discuss about why there is so much of importance placed on faith. Because without having faith, there is no way we can ever move forward. How do we start a new project? If I have a doubt in the beginning itself, I'll be stuck in the very, very first step. I will not even move out of my house, right? So one has to have not just a vision, but have a vision, have faith that the vision will work. Only that will prompt any kind of actions, right? But it should not be a blind faith. It should be a faith which is born out of understanding, born out of an experience. And so we'll spend a lot of time discussing about this faith in the next class. And I'll leave you with this quote, and we will continue this next week, where I would like you to spend a little time on what does this word faith mean to you. Very important qualification, because it is, no matter whether it is our generation or whether it's Gen Y, Gen Z, millennials, whatever generation, faith is absolutely an important qualification. And I leave you with this quote here, where it says, faith is the bird that feels the light when the dawn is still dark. So how, even for us, when I go to sleep, I know that I'm going to get up the next day. What is it that propels me to get up the next day, where I know there's going to be sunlight? I know that I'm going to, do what is needed for my role. So we'll stop at this point and we will continue next week. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukkha bhag bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.